I share all that with you to say this. Florida State is now in a really, and I mean a really tricky situation. And for me as a college football fan, it's going to be really interesting to see how they navigate this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great week. Hope all of you having a great Thursday night. At least that's when this video is going to be uploaded. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And man, oh man, guess what we got to talk about? The good old cinnamon rolls. Feels like it was just yesterday I watched the cinnamon rolls upset a top 10 ranked Alabama. And let's clap it up to them. Keep clapping it up. That was... All right, that's enough. Like I was saying, that was a heck of a way to start your season if you're a Florida State fan. Couldn't have got off to a better start. Not only did you just win the game, and we're going to talk more about that in just a second, you dominated Alabama. Let me say it again. You dominated Alabama from start to finish. The game was never in doubt. Outside of that amazing opening drive Alabama had, which was nice, it was all Florida State. And you've got to give a ton of credit to Mike Norvell. He had them boys ready to go. That was one of his better coach games, I thought. And also, we got to clap it up to him. The Gus Bus, a.k.a. Gus Malzahn, his only purpose on this earth was to scheme up plays for Alabama. I'm telling you, that is the only reason God put him here. Obviously, I'm joking a little bit. On a serious note, he's got Alabama's number. It doesn't matter if he's at Auburn. Doesn't matter if he's at Florida State. He's just good at drawing up plays against them. The offense for Florida State was clearly on all cylinders. They couldn't be stopped. The defense, per usual, I expected them to have a really good defense, flying all over the field, and they did just that. One thing that's really interesting is everybody brings up last year, including myself, oh yeah, Florida State, they suck. They went 2-10, yada, yada, yada. But they didn't suck because of their defense. They only sucked because of DJ Ugbadugi and the offense. The defense actually kept them in games last year when the offense was doing nothing, and I mean nothing at all. It was just a tragedy that the offense, I mean, how many times did they score more than 24 points in a game? Not many. But now Florida State's got the new offensive coordinator, the new quarterback who fits the Gus Malzahn offense perfectly, and not just in this Alabama game, but I think all throughout the season, they're going to be some trouble. And when I say trouble, let me clarify. I'm talking about trouble for other defenses out there. You're going to have a hard time stopping these guys. I hate to sit up here and label it as a gimmicky offense, but the more I think about it, it kind of is. But it really comes down to execution, and they executed flawlessly on Saturday. There wasn't many times that offense messed up or they looked like they didn't know what they were doing. They were in the right place at the right time. And I think there's something to be said about that because when you got the players running the plays correctly, I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's the little things like that that matter. Another thing I want to harp on before we go any farther, the players actually look like they wanted to be out there. Last year, they didn't. How many times are you going to say this? I know Nick Saban's gone, but Florida State, or any college football team at that, bullied the bully in Alabama. They pushed Bama around. They were lighting them up. I'm talking about blowing up linebackers, shoving offensive linemen on the ground. It was ugly. It was just something you're not used to seeing happen to an Alabama football team. I think it's more than safe to say Florida State was hyped up for this game because, number one, you're playing Alabama, the best college football program of all time. And number two, they were awful last year, and they heard all the noise. They're not dumb. They got phones. They got social media. These kids were sick and tired of it, and they used it as fuel motivation. People saying, oh, yeah, you suck. You went 2-10. Y'all ain't going to do anything this year. Yada, yada, yada. Bama's going to beat y'all by 40. They said, all right, bet. Watch this. Let's get one thing straight, too. I did pick Alabama to win this game, but if you watch my preview and prediction, I said it 3 to 4 days ago. It's or not 3 to 4 days ago. That was like 5 or 6 days ago. No, wait, that was over a week ago. What am I talking about? Sorry, my apologies. I was thinking about the game. But like I was saying, if you saw my preview / prediction, I stated word for word that Florida State can win this game. I tried to warn Alabama fans that Tommy Castellanos, he's not a guy you want to mess with. He's kind of like a Johnny Manziel. He's really slippery and hard to take down. I thought he was going to wreak havoc for the Alabama defense, and well, he did. And although I did pick Alabama to win the game, I only picked them to win by either 10 or 14 points. I thought it was going to be close. For all those people out here, and there were a bunch of them that had Alabama winning, I saw scores like 52-10, 48-17, 40-7. I'm like, You have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, those scores didn't even make logical sense. I knew it was going to be competitive at least. I share all that with you to say this. Florida State is now in a really, and I mean a really tricky situation. And for me as a college football fan, it's going to be really interesting to see how they navigate this. But whoa, hold on. I know what you're sitting there saying, Matt, what are you talking about? Florida State's in a tricky situation. Great question, my friend. Great question, Timothy and Bobby. I would love to answer it. What happened all throughout last year? Everybody told these players, told the coaching staff, told the program how much they sucked. What happened all throughout the offseason for the past 5 to 6 months? Same thing. Everybody told Mike Norvell, the coaching staff, the players, you suck. You need to go out there and prove me different. And all they could do is say, you know what? You're right. We did suck last year, and we got to go out there and show you that we're going to be better. You don't got to be a rocket scientist to put two and two together. It's much easier to get motivated for things and to show up for games when people are rooting against you, because now you have unlimited fuel added to your fire, unlimited motivation, whatever you want to call it. What am I trying to say? Where am I going at with this? Well, now everyone's telling these players, the coaching staff, the program, how great they are. Hey guys, we're back. We're not even just a top 25 team. We're inside the top 15. The good old Florida State is back. We're going to make the playoff. Y'all guys are amazing. You're the best college football team in the nation. Yada, yada, yada. You get how it goes. Within 10 days, it has been a complete 180 around the program. Not to say that fans didn't believe in the players before the Bama game, but it wasn't like this. Instead of people, including their own fans, berating the team, everyone's telling them how amazing they are, how good they are. They are now in the position of, and we'll just use them as an example because they just beat them, in Alabama, where Alabama, it was in a lose-lose situation. Heading into Florida State, if you win by 30, people are going to say, well, yeah, Florida State sucked last year. You're Alabama, you should win that game. Or if they lose the game, people are going to point at them and say, oh my goodness, y'all suck, you lost to Florida State. You see what I'm saying? Florida State's in that predicament now, where you're not just supposed to win, but you're supposed to do it convincingly, and people expect that out of you. They're not even going to clap it up for you anymore. And this is where you tend to see it a lot in college football, not just in college football, but all college sports, college basketball. You have what people label as, and I quote, the letdown game, or letdown games. You got teenagers and guys in their early 20s get a big ego. They feel like they're invincible. They just beat number 8 Alabama. And then they get humbled by a nobody in a team that had no business even being on the same field as them. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it doesn't just happen every single year. It happens every single week in college football. It's normal. What made Nick Saban the greatest head coach of all time was his ability to avoid the letdown game. Everybody remembers Nick Saban for the big-time wins, but Nick Saban rarely, if ever, lost to unranked teams. I think he lost to an unranked team once in his entire career at Alabama, maybe twice. He always won the games he was supposed to win. He even said it himself. The hardest thing to do as a college football coach is to get your guys to show up every single week, week in and week out. Truth of the matter is, it's hard to get your team motivated when you're playing Vanderbilt. It's hard to get your team motivated when you're playing Western Carolina or even like a South Florida. Teams like that. And you can lie to yourself all you want if you're a Seminole fan, but those players aren't excited and hyped up to play this weekend against East Texas A&M or Eastern Texas A&M, whoever that is. They don't care about that game. And following that one, they don't care about Kent State either. If you are a college football fan, I know everybody's paying attention to your top 25 matchups. You got Oklahoma, Michigan, and you got some bigger games next week. I think this is a storyline you should be paying attention to. How will Florida State respond after a huge win to start the season? I'm not going to sit up here and say Mike Norvell and Florida State's not used to success. They almost made the playoff a couple years ago. But here's what I am saying. After big performances and after big-time wins, most teams typically have letdowns. I wouldn't be shocked if I think they'll handle Eastern Texas A&M, but against Kent State, if Florida State struggles a little bit early on in that game, I think they'll pull away, but I could see that being like a 17, 20-point game, and that's close against Kent State. Let's get past the cupcakes a little bit. This is a trap game. I'm not going to talk about it too much because it is about 3 weeks away. Virginia. That's a definition of a trap game. It's right before the Miami one. Everybody and their mom is going to be talking about, oh man, I can't wait for that Miami game. How much are tickets? Yada, yada, yada. You can go in there against Virginia, lay an egg, and guess what? This is another thing we got to talk about. You are Virginia's Super Bowl. This is the game of the year for them. And that's where things get scary because how does Florida State currently view Virginia? Just another game on the schedule. But for Virginia, it's not like that. I think this Florida State team is really talented. I think they have the potential to make the playoff. But I also believe they should be treading cautiously these next 4 to 5 games. Don't let your ego and pride get in your way. The worst thing you can do is start acting like you're the man and you're the top dog because you beat top 10 Alabama, who, by the way, ain't even a top 10 team anymore. Because there's no doubt about it in my mind, Florida State is going to compete with Miami. I expect that right now to be a close game. But please, and I'm begging you, for the fans' sake, make sure you take care of business leading up into that game. You know how bad of a feeling it would be if you're 3-0 heading into Virginia and you get upset in that one? That would carry over to the next week. The worst thing that can happen is you lose to Virginia, and that would dang near ruin the season in its own. Here's the last thing I'm going to say, and we're going to end off the video. You've got off to a great start, but remember, it's just the start. Many more things I could say. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but